Friendly reminder. This is a horror film that has truly terrified people to death. High energy visuals. Strange storyline. It will keep your adrenaline pumping. This film is based on one of Asia's top haunted houses. It is adapted from true events at Xinglin Hospital. It is said that anyone who enters this hospital does not come out alive. Hurry, watch it with your friends who love horror. Does being on the brink of death mean you will definitely see ghosts? The Taoist priest, in order to earn a bride price for his son, uses his advantageous position to open a spirit journey tour. The main offering is to help the living meet their deceased loved ones. His first business deal happens to be at Xinglin Hospital. At midnight, the priest begins to set up a ritual. Ah Hong hands 2 yellow talismans to the women. He reminds them that no matter what happens, the talismans must be worn on the left side of their chests. Then he asks them to write down the names of their deceased loved ones. The priest then leads them to the mortuary. As soon as they left, the empty wheelchair suddenly moved on its own. The mortuary is the place in the hospital with the heaviest yin energy. Only by absorbing enough yin energy can the living see the souls of the deceased. Thus, the Taoist priest asked the woman to lie down in the cold mortuary drawer. Although they were very scared, they still resolutely lay down to see their deceased loved ones. They lay down without hesitation, even though they had mentally prepared themselves. When strange noises came from the mortuary drawer, the 2 women were still terrified. They trembled and beat on the mortuary drawer, desperately calling for help. Seeing an evil ghost filled with resentment, the Taoist priest hurriedly lit incense in front of the mortuary drawer, and quickly pulled the 2 of them out. He led everyone to escape from the mortuary. Ah Hong was worried about accidents happening. He advised them that encountering ghosts is not a joke. It could very well cost them their lives. Let them give up early. However, the 2 insisted on seeing their loved ones. In desperation, the Taoist priest gave them the supreme Yangnoon water that could save their lives. Ah Hong then gave Xia Ling and Aru each a special headset. As long as they wore the headsets, they would be able to hear the sounds made by the spirits more clearly. Then, everyone walked deeper into the hospital. As a result, they had not gone far when Xia Ling was at the door of the operating room and heard strange noises. She involuntarily pushed the door open and walked in. It turned out that Xia Ling's husband had died on the operating table right in front of her. The Taoist priest told her to put on a hospital gown and lie down. Then, he used a small knife to cut her finger. It is said that the spirits will manifest after sensing the blood energy of their relatives. With Xia Ling's deep longing, her husband's spirit really appeared. However, not long after, the spirit disappeared again. Xia Ling quickly snatched the blade away. Once again, she cuts her finger. But suddenly, the surgical lights above her began to flash wildly. When Xia Ling opened her eyes again, she found herself in another space. The others had vanished. Before she could figure out what was happening, she heard a faint, almost ethereal singing in her ears. Gathering her courage, Xia Ling slowly approached to investigate. Unexpectedly, in the next moment, Ah Hong splashed water on her just in time to wake her. Thanks to him, Xia Ling narrowly escaped disaster. Xia Ling's husband had originally scheduled the surgery, but due to a sudden fire in the hospital basement the previous night, his attending physician broke his hand while fighting the fire. So, they had to switch to another surgeon at the last minute. As a result, an accident occurred during the surgery, leading to her husband's tragic death. It was the doctors and nurses here who caused his death. They are all murderers. Xia Ling's words instantly sparked Aru's discontent, because her sister, shouting. She used to be a nurse at this hospital. Due to high levels of work pressure, along with the constant difficulties posed by patients' families, it ultimately led to Shouting's mental breakdown. She always saw unclean things. Unable to bear the burden, she chose to jump off the building and commit suicide. Just when Aru was speaking up for her sister, a mysterious force suddenly pulled her towards the windowsill. In a critical moment, the Taoist priest acted just in time, using a fire talisman to save her. Although Aru was shocked and stunned, she was still determined to see her sister one last time. She even offered to pay double the price to help Aru fulfill her wish. The Taoist priest took out a bottle of yin water, just a drop in her eyes. Seeing ghosts would definitely not be a problem. Sure enough, as soon as the yin water was dropped into Aru's eyes, her sister appeared right in front of her. Looking at her sister, who was lost and forlorn, Aru felt an overwhelming sadness in her heart. But before she could say anything, she was back in the real world again. Priest, give me the yin water again. I want to see my sister. No. If you keep using it, your yin energy will consume the yang energy. The consequences would be unimaginable. Aru, eager to see her sister, directly rushed in to grab it. Unexpectedly, during the struggle, she accidentally shattered the entire bottle of yin water. This time, she really made a mess of things. Various evil spirits, guided by the yin energy, began to flood towards this place. Just then, a shadow suddenly appeared in the room. Aru thought it was her sister. Without saying a word, she rushed in. No matter how many people shouted, she refused to come out. Soon, a gust of yin wind began to swirl around. The windows were directly shattered. The priest, realizing the situation was bad, intended to take the 2 away from here first. But it was all too late. The door to the operating room slowly opened. A strange doll sitting in a wheelchair was pushed out of the fog by someone, and the one pushing the wheelchair is the #1 evil ghost here. The Taoist priest hurriedly instructed everyone to hold their breath, trying to escape the grasp of the evil ghost. But the next second, the Taoist priest, suffering from a serious illness, because he was burdened with too much yin energy, Ultimately, he was discovered by the evil ghost. It instantly transformed into a wisp of black smoke, and flew straight into the priest's body. The priest, possessed by the evil ghost, started wildly slashing at the two. Ah Hong quickly burst through the door, taking Xiaoling with him to hide under the bed. Hearing the sound of the knife scraping against the wall, the two were so scared they didn't dare to breathe. Soon, the priest chased after them. However, since ghosts cannot bend down, the two narrowly escaped disaster. At this moment, Aru, acting alone, finally saw her sister. But just as she was overwhelmed with joy and tears, her sister suddenly had a blank expression in her eyes. "Don't be afraid. I'm here, sister." Under the enchantment of her sister's ghost, Aru lost her mind. Hand in hand with her sister, she jumped off the building. She ended her own life. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ah Hong decided to take a risk to save the priest. He resolved to use yin water. Because the yin water flows to the place with the heaviest yin energy, it would lead him to the Ghost King's location. After Ah Hong poured the yin water on the ground, it quickly flowed toward the operating room door. The doll in the wheelchair seemed to sense something. It hurriedly called for the Ghost King to appear. "Mom? Mom?" In the next moment, the Ghost King manipulated the scalpel from a distance. On the priest's abdomen, he made a 2-meter-long incision. The priest violently vomited a bucket of blood. On the other side, the oblivious Ah Hong and Xiaoling. They were following the yin water to find the Taoist priest. But when they reached the stairway, they unexpectedly encountered the Ghost King. The two were so frightened that they turned and ran. However, they were blocked by a puppet. Seeing the Ghost King getting closer, the two could only curl up in the corner of the wall. They held their breath again. The Ghost King did not sense the presence of the living. It transformed into a wisp of black smoke and entered the black hole in the wall. Just as the two let out a sigh of relief, the Ghost King's arm reached out from the black hole. It grabbed Xiaoling tightly by the neck. Fortunately, Ah Hong quickly splashed the supreme Yongnoon water on it. Only then did Xiaoling save her life. Then the two braved on to continue searching for the Taoist priest. But at the end of the corridor, they saw a room engulfed in flames. The terrifying ghost in front of them made Xiaoling feel like retreating. But Ah Hong said this is an illusion created by the Ghost King. As long as they feel fear in their hearts, the Ghost King will seize the opportunity to control their bodies. So moving forward is their only choice. To dispel Xiaoling's concerns, he gave Xiaoling the ancestral ghost oil to protect her life. As soon as they stepped into the room, Xiaoling heard her husband's call. "Xiaoling, I heard my husband calling me. These are all illusions to tempt you made by the Ghost King. Do not look back, and do not stop. I'm sorry, I can't do it." Just as Xiaoling turned around, a white monster pounced at her. In the next second, a flash of white light passed by. The two found themselves back at the hospital before the incident. It turned out that the Ghost King Dame had also brought her son to this hospital for treatment of heart disease, because the nurse told her that her son would soon recover. Dame decided to buy a cake to celebrate. Unexpectedly, just as she left, her son's old illness unexpectedly relapsed. Despite the doctor's timely rescue efforts, they still couldn't save his life. Dame couldn't accept the fact that her son was gone. She cried all day, clutching her son's belongings. Just like that, he left. Just like that, he left. Why did it have to be like this for me? Why? Xiaoling felt heartbroken seeing her so sad, so she stepped forward to comfort Dame. She said she could understand her feelings, because she had gone through a similar experience. She had come here to see her deceased husband. I even thought, if I died too, would I be able to see him? That way, I wouldn't be separated by life and death from him. However, Xiaoling's words did not comfort Dame at all. Instead, they indirectly pushed her to extremes. She stole some medical alcohol and hid in the women's restroom. Xiaoling realized she had said something wrong, so she followed Dame all the way to the restroom. She kept urging Dame not to do anything foolish. But at that moment, Dame couldn't hear her at all. She even locked Xiaoling inside the restroom. Suddenly, the lights went out. The air was filled with an eerie presence. The next second, a pitch-black ghost hand reached out from the toilet. In a critical moment, Xiaoling burst open the door. But as soon as she turned around, Xiaoling was so frightened that she fled in a panic. Yet, she unexpectedly heard the phone ringing. Driven by curiosity, she picked up the phone. Mom. Mom. Meanwhile, in another space-time, Dame in the mortuary ignited her son's body. Then the fire engulfed both mother and son. Xiaoling's husband's lead surgeon discovered this. He desperately wanted to save Dame, but he accidentally broke his arm. Thus, the hospital had to replace the lead surgeon, and this indirectly led to Xiaoling's husband's surgery failure. Xiaoling, devastated by grief, in a fit of anger, took the hospital to court. However, the unscrupulous hospital, in order to escape responsibility, shifted all the blame onto Shouting. This severely impacted Shouting. She could only prove her innocence by jumping off a building. Da Mei's moment of impulse was like a fuse, completely changing the fates of these individuals. Karmic cycle. Perhaps this is fate. After returning to the real world, Ah Hong originally wanted to take the two away from here, but the Ghost King suddenly appeared. With just a glance, Ah Hong and Xiao Ling were pinned to the wall. I want your heart. For my son. Seeing this, Ah Hong quickly took out the supreme Yang Noon water to deal with her. However, the Noon water not only had no effect, but instead completely enraged the Ghost King. Miss Su, hurry, take the ghost oil I gave you. Hurry up. Xiao Ling didn't have time to react. The Ghost King turned around and pinned her in the air on the roof. Then she fell heavily down. The ghost oil also dropped to the ground. Then the Ghost King raised his hand. Xiao Ling was once again pinned in midair. Ah Hong originally wanted to launch a sneak attack from behind. Unexpectedly, he was instantly flung away by the Ghost King. He was firmly pinned against the wall. Then the Ghost King forcibly extracted Ah Hong's heart from a distance, preparing to replace it for his own son. In this critical moment, Xiao Ling picked up the ghost oil from the ground. She quietly approached the Ghost King from behind. Even though her plan was seen through by the Ghost King, she was once again pinned in midair. But she still threw the ghost oil at the Ghost King with all her might. The immense power instantly made the Ghost King vanish. Ah Hong urged Xiao Ling to leave this place quickly. However, Xiao Ling insisted on seeing her husband, so she returned to the operating table again. Without hesitation, she cut the main artery. This time, she finally saw her husband as she wished. I love you so much. How could I bear to leave first? I won't leave you alone. Just then, blood began to ooze from the position of her husband's heart. Xiao Ling couldn't help but hug her husband. She cried so hard it felt like she couldn't live anymore. But when she lifted her head, she was terrified to discover a woman in red hanging from the beam. And that person was actually herself. It turned out that after her husband's death, Xiao Ling, overwhelmed with grief, hanged herself in the hospital. But because of her deep obsession, she always believed she was still alive, and kept searching for her husband. Meanwhile, Ah Hong heard someone speaking outside. He anxiously stepped forward to seek help, only to find that he passed through the other person's body. Ah Hong was baffled. What on earth is happening? The plot has turned once again. It turns out that these 4 people had died years ago, but because their obsessions were too deep, along with the Ghost King's manipulation, they had no way to be reincarnated. So they have been wandering around the hospital as restless spirits, continuously repeating the tragedies of their lives. Because of this, strange occurrences have constantly happened at Xinglin Hospital. Until today, it still remains a chilling haunted place. Such an exciting plot. Of course, it deserves a good device for viewing. I recently got a new phone. The old one was picked up for free by Hui Show. How convenient. With nearly 2,000 stores nationwide, an engineer comes to pick it up once you place an order. You pay on site if you're satisfied with the price. I even sold my iPhone 13, which I had used for a few years, for over 3,000. It's no wonder it's a publicly traded company, if you ask me, for recycling phones, tablets, and laptops. Subscribe to the channel to continue watching.